Hey guys, I'm a Forester here. If I look disheveled, it's because I am. I've been out exercising and let's see, 22,510 steps so far. But I'm trying to make my goal of getting down to, well, 178. Don't tell anybody I said that, by the end of September. And I'm almost there. So, but I just wanted to sit back and talk a little bit, cool off with a drink. But I've been watching YouTube videos and I've gotten onto some old retired men, sort of like me, just talking about their lives. And I really enjoy listening to them. So anybody that's been around, has made it to 65, nearing retirement, they've got quite a few stories that they can tell. And so do I, and I thought I've enjoyed listening to some guys, they're retired overseas. And so they talk about where they're living, it's in a different country, but they also just tell stories from their past life, and or from their life. So anyway, I thought I might give that a try. There may be some stories that you might be interested in. And since a lot of y'all are into guns, I wanted to tell a story of the very first gun that, that I purchased. And this is a picture of it. I don't know how long that's going to stay up, so I'll go ahead and show you. But it's an EIG. It shoots 22 long rifles, shorts or longs. And it's got 4 barrels. Now that picture doesn't show it broken down, but it's got 4 barrels. And it's a real cheap pistol. But anyway, let me tell you the story. So I wasn't big into guns, but I did do some shooting. I think I may have had a 22 rifle that I bought at Sears. And I think I had one other gun that I'll tell a story about it, how I came to own it in a future video. But anyway, so I didn't have any idea that I was going to be buying a gun this Saturday. I was probably 18 or 19 years old. My dad was a Baptist pastor, and we were at a small country church in western North Carolina. We lived in a parsonage, so the church provided the house that we were living in. And it was out in the, it was in a mountainous area and very heavily wooded. At that time I was into hunting, and so anyway, I would tramp around the woods. I was big into just taking off hiking, going wherever. I've been known to go walk so far that I didn't want to walk back. So I would find a house, talk my way in, call home and say, come get me. I don't want to walk back. I could walk back, but I just didn't want to. But I was always trying to see what was over the next hill. So anyway, it was a very rural area, and this sounds uncommon, but it really wasn't that uncommon. But one Saturday morning, so the church graveyard was in the vicinity. It wasn't. It was across the street and next to the church, and I saw some activity over there. So I went around to see what was going on. Well, it was a man digging a grave. There was going to be a funeral that weekend, and so he was digging the grave by hand. He didn't have any heavy equipment. And so I stayed there and talked to him for a good while. And a little bit he said, hey, you want to buy a gun? And I said, I don't know, what you got? And he held up this gun right there, and it was not in as good a condition as that one in the picture. But he showed it to me, showed me how it worked and whatnot, and I said, yeah, how much you want for it? $20. Well, $20 wasn't a whole lot of money back then. I could make that mowing grass and working odd jobs and whatnot. And I had $20, so I gave it to him and I got a pistol. Well, and I had some 22s back at the house, so I didn't say anything to my parents. I didn't know if they would approve or not. Probably wouldn't. But I went in, got a box of shells, went out to the woods where I could have some privacy. And so, now this was unique. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it had 4 barrels. So it was one block of steel with 4 cylinders drilled into it. It would hold 4 .22 long rifle calibers. And it broke down. So it broke down, you put the 4 shells in, then you, it had a latch on the top that hooked down and held it in place. But it didn't fit tight, so the barrel would wiggle a little bit. There was a little bit of room in between the cylinders and the breech face, I guess, where the firing pin was. And that was one thing that was real unique about this revolver, or this handgun, is that the firing pin would revolve. So you'd pull the trigger 4 times and that firing pin would move to each quadrant of a circle, you might say, and fire all 4 cylinders. It was pretty unique, and I think I got it just because it was so unique. But I went to the woods and I shot it right-handed, since I am right-handed, and I noticed right across this finger, right there, powder burns. And it wasn't real painful, but it let me know something wasn't quite right. So I looked at it and I noticed that there was a crack in the breech face, I guess you would call it, right in the center, and it was right where I was feeling that powder burn. And now I've watched some videos of other people shooting this, and they say to always wear a glove, you know, a leather glove if you're shooting this, because it does have problems with powder escaping right there. So I shot it for a little while, but that concerned me, and I decided I would go ahead and shoot it one more time, 4 more rounds, and put it up. And I didn't really worry about the $20 that I just spent. I thought it was a neat gun, and I would keep it. I just wouldn't shoot it. And so I shot it one more time, and that was one time too many, because I think the brass exploded, because little brass fragments came out of that crack and punctured a series of holes in my finger, right about there. And I used to have a scar. I know where the scar is, but you can just barely see it now. And so anyway, I went to the house. It wasn't bleeding or anything, but it was, you could see where the fragments had gone in. And so anyway, I never did go to the doctor about it. I wasn't going to own up to having bought the gun and then getting hurt with it. So I did know a nurse, and I went to her and had her look at it. She cleaned it up a little bit, and I think she tried to get some of the fragments out, but bottom line, it healed up. Some of those fragments might still be in there for all I know. And the mystery is where that gun is today. So about that time, I was graduating from high school and going off to college, and I know I didn't take it to college with me. So I think I hid it in my bedroom, thinking that nobody knew, and I wanted to keep it that way. But one of my brothers or my parents, probably my mother, found it and put it up. And you know, it wasn't on my mind. I never asked about it. No one ever said anything about it. But now, 40 years later, so I'm wondering, where the heck is that gun? I don't think it's worth anything. I was researching it a little bit today. It wasn't worth much then, and I don't think it's worth much now either. But I would like to have it just for sentimental sake. And I'm thinking that it's packed up in a box or a dresser drawer or something at the house, and one of these days maybe I'll come across it. I'll show you if I do. All right, that's just an example of a story. If you enjoy this type of thing, let me know. I'll make some more of them. I'm sure I've got plenty of stories that I can tell. Y'all take care.